Hey guys, welcome to this video. Thanks for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back. If you have, my intention is unity and oneness, the highest levels of love light. I'm just going to go into some flow. I want to do an energy update, but it's difficult for me to put into linear words what it is I want to express. Happy 11/11, by the way. Let's start with that. Sometimes we think when there are these 11/11 portals, Lionsgate portal and 11/11 portal and this portal and that portal, we think that magical things are going to happen. The sun is going to come out and rainbows are going to shine upon us. All of our answers are going to present themselves. And that's not always the case. Sometimes these portals are about us recognizing things that aren't always comfortable and feeling that and allowing ourselves to integrate that. So these portals look different for everyone because we're each individual, unique expressions of the divine. And my expression is different than your expression. So oftentimes we put these expectations on ourselves that things should look a certain way. We should look a certain way. We should feel a certain way. And then those expectations are reinforced by perhaps someone that we look up to or that we trust that says, don't do this or this will happen. If you do this, you will not ascend. Unless you do this, you will have a terrible process in this awakening. I see it all the time. And people are so confident in what they have to share because perhaps that's their story and it's really worked for them. But what I really want to express is what works for me may not work for everybody else and vice versa. And so all I can do with this sharing is sharing from my own perspective. And you may or may not resonate with what I have to say. And that's the beauty of us being unique individual expressions. However, sometimes when we listen to someone, even if we don't agree with what they have to say, it can trigger certain things within us. We begin to question what they're sharing, which brings us into the aha of why we're questioning it. Where's that question coming from? Why would this person be saying that? And we may get all kinds of answers that we never would have received had we have not questioned the messenger or the message being given. And this comes back to us letting go of the expectations that anybody else has all the answers or that we have all the answers. We're really being called to, from my perspective, keep coming back to the heart. Going back into the heart to feel into what is being spelled out. Now, that's a play on words. I could go into so many layers with that. When someone says a truth that is a universal truth, that is a deep resonance in the I am, we feel it in our bones. We feel it inside of our heart. And many of us have not taken, let me rephrase that. Many of us have been in a space where we've tuned into someone else's resonance and their own system so frequently that when we hear something that isn't part of that system, it doesn't resonate because we're resonating at the expectation of what things should look like based on what that story that we're believing and putting our energy into resonates at. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can say it a little bit better. Sometimes we're so used to being in a certain habit pattern that when we're not in that habit, we feel off. Something's not right. Therefore, it must not be working, must be wrong. I must be doing something wrong. When in actuality, all we did was change our habit, which was a good thing. But we're just used to doing something a certain way, so we feel out of sorts. We've been listening to someone teach for so long, or we really feel that this person has a lot to offer and to give in truth, that when somebody else has something to say that's a little different, we go, no, that's not right, because this person says it's not, and I trust this person. And that's okay. However, what my guidance team has shared with me is, and what do you feel? Why are you interested in this other message? Is there something else that maybe we can explore that might differentiate slightly from the habit that we've been listening in? Play on words, the habit, our writing gear, what we are wearing, because we're all changing and we're all growing. We're growing and coming into our own light. We don't necessarily have to follow someone else's light. And while it can be very helpful, I have many teachers I recommend and I listen to all the time, or have listened to. That doesn't mean everything they share I resonate with. But I acknowledge that and ask the questions, why am I feeling this way right now? And I also recognize often if I'm judging that person because I don't agree with what they're saying, or they're saying something that maybe I need to work on, and then I judge myself for not being up to their standards. This is something I've been called to bring up, because I notice a lot of people being really not only hard on themselves, but other people being hard on others. You need to do this or that won't happen. And in some cases, that's true. Fill in the blanks. You should not eat this or this will happen. That may be true to a certain extent, but is that the universal truth? Most likely not. So this is where we use our discernment. We channel our answers and questions through our heart, and we recognize when our ego or our personality or habits are putting us in a vibration of doubt, judgment, shame. And I'm going to use this example. Let's say, well, let me continue and then I'll use the Oreo cookie example. If we have a teacher we listen to and they say, this is wrong because, and we buy into that, we give value to that, and then we do what we've been told is wrong. And then we feel, and let's say we were in a great space or a medium space, and then we do that, and then we all of a sudden feel, so I'm going to give an example, the Oreo cookie. The teacher says, don't eat Oreo cookies, because if you eat them, and I'm just using this as an example, I'm not saying do or do not eat Oreo cookies, because it's got sugar in it. And if you eat these, they're genetically modified, they've got sugar in them, they're going to lower your frequency and vibration and block your pineal gland. They're going to make your cortisol go crazy, and you're not going to ascend. That's simple. I say it with confidence. I say it with authority. And I am, as if that was something I was teaching, wouldn't be wrong. Because theoretically, if all I did was eat Oreo cookies all day long, most likely my physical vessel is not going to be able to keep my vibration high enough to absorb what it is that I'm expanding into. The light levels, the light quotient couldn't be met. I would end up sick. so on and so forth. So that is true. However, what I'm witnessing, and I've seen this in my own journey, if we're having a moment and we decide we're going to have some Oreo cookies and we eat 5 Oreo cookies, and then we remember what this teacher said, and then we go, oh, shame. I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm never going to ascend. I feel guilt. I feel shame. I feel fill in the blanks with whatever it might be. What we've done is we've now put so much in what that person said as a truth. And now we did something we feel like we shouldn't have done because we're human. And then we proceed to lower our frequency with all of those feelings of guilt, shame, frustration, disgust. I can't believe I did that. Oh, now it's going to take me a week to, so on and so forth. When in reality, it didn't matter. Enjoy the Oreo cookies. You're going to be fine. And so we're really being called to use our discernment and recognize that each person is unique and individual on this journey. Not everyone has to follow all the rules. And by the way, who created those rules? Yes, we might find that there are certain things within that cookie that are not good for us. Yet there is no golden rule list that we must follow in order to go from point A to point Z. Oftentimes it's a zigzag. Sometimes we're meant to have that experience, to eat the sugar so that we feel a certain way, so we recognize why we shouldn't. Or the opposite. We might decide to eat that and love it and enjoy it and bless it and just savor that moment. And we might be okay. And we raised our frequency because we were consciously connecting with our food, how we felt, and we were doing it out of joy. Which way do we want to go? Now, of course, if we were doing it all the time, every day, but this is an example. I see a lot of people saying you don't do this or do that in this order. You have to do it this way. And from my experience, that is, again, true, but it isn't the way. It isn't the truth. It's not a universal truth because it's not applicable to every person and every situation. It's all about vibration, frequency, and energy. And this comes back to our heart awareness. If we are compassionate for our bodies, we might recognize that we don't need the cookies right now because we really need to detoxify. However, we might also in that moment realize that we're going to be okay. This is where we're using our discernment to decide what's best for us and not necessarily relying on another person, place, or thing to dictate to us how this journey from A to Z looks. Because we're each having this experience. It also might be because when we bought those Oreo cookies, we had a beautiful conversation with the person that was checking us out about how fun it was, what it reminded of us when we were kids. What movie are you going to watch while you eat these? I don't know. I'm just using that as an example. We could use popcorn. Popcorn. Genetically modified, right? High in sodium, not good for you, whatever. I'm just using it as an example. So we're really being called to lighten up. And this goes for teachers, recognizing that when we tell someone to do something or not to do something, if it's an intuitive session because that person is actually experiencing a problem with sugar, like diabetes, well, yeah, maybe that's applicable. That isn't always applicable though for everyone. Not everyone has diabetes. So I just wanted to share that because it's so interesting to watch the value that we give other teachers. And when we put ourselves down because we're not following what someone else told us we should do, it's okay. It's our journey. I know it's my big 11-11 message. There's more. So from my perspective, when there's a portal, it's a doorway to another space, but it's also a doorway within. It's an astrological conjunction point that's connecting to different places and geometries in the astrological system, right? With the stars and the planets, connecting to our birth chart, connecting to multiple dimensions, like a crystal lattice work. And sometimes a portal looks like a node, a doorway from one place to another. And so when we are in the space of wanting to be something somewhere at a certain frequency, at a certain vibration, it's helpful when we know there's a portal, because what it does is it gives us a moment to get centered. We find ourselves being more aware of what it is that we want to co-create, which means we become more powerful manifestors because we have a centered attention, and where attention, intention goes, energy flows. So when we talk about these dates, it actually creates this a better awareness sometimes for ourselves. How do I want to show up today? How do I want to feel today? Because a portal sometimes feels like all of the energies are accentuated. Therefore, what is it that we want to accentuate more of? So it's almost like a multidimensional access system that essentially lines us up for these more expansive places and spaces on Earth and beyond. However, as within, so without. So it's a portal also to a deeper knowingness of ourselves. And the reason this is so important from my perspective to touch on is because that's not always going to feel or look like sunshine and rainbows. Someone may be in a really high vibrational, expansive space and feeling these incoming waves of love and bliss, while someone else may be feeling really sloshy, really bogged down, really uncomfortable. And that person may or may not be more spiritually aware than the person who's in a place of love and bliss. It may be that that person was ready for this love and bliss, and all of a sudden, here it is. And here we are, we've been working and, doing everything we're supposed to do, not eating that popcorn, not eating those Oreos. And here we feel worse on the 11-11. And then we judge ourselves for it not looking like our beautiful friend who's just in this beautiful state of bliss. It's okay. So when we're in that space, being conscious and acknowledging how we feel and where we are at and meeting ourselves there allows us, it gives us so much. It gives us a gift. Okay, I'm feeling this way. There's nothing wrong or right. It just is. So I'm integrating this, I'm processing this, and I'm allowing that to move through me so I can let this go, so I can feel it to my fullest extent, so that when I move through this portal, when I move through this doorway, I'm able to acknowledge, integrate, and process whatever's coming up for me without judgment. Maybe judgment is something we're processing, judging ourselves for not meeting our own expectations, or meeting the expectations of someone else who thinks we should be acting, looking, sounding a certain way. Letting all that go. Acknowledging it is first, though. Sometimes we may not even know what we're letting go of. We might just cry. That's okay too. And that was my message, really, about these portals. Sometimes in the spiritual community, we get really hung up on what that's supposed to look like. And lots of energies coming in. Okay, I did a really quick card reading, and I want to talk about that too, because I had seen someone. I don't have to do a card reading. I'm at that stage of awareness quite frequently where I use my environment to tell me what's going on. I see my environment reflecting back to me what I need to see in inner to outer, my projector, right? So I might have a crow fly across my path and I recognize, oh, I wonder what crow means. I know what crow means, but I'm just sharing that as an example. I might have a beautiful conversation with someone about magic and I recognize, okay, more magic. Where can I find more magic in my reality? The cards I pulled for today for the collective energy. So why am I sharing that? Sometimes we get into this space of, I don't need that anymore. I'm beyond that. And then all of a sudden we feel like, I don't know what my environment is telling me. I don't see as clearly as I did a week ago. Oh no, I went backwards. Oh no, I'm doing this wrong. Something must be wrong with me. My guidance team, when I get into that space, and I do, thankfully I have some really dear friends and family that helps pick me up by my bootstraps, because we're not always doing this alone. I'll use my cards. They're fun. My guidance team is like, play. You play games. You play board games. Why can't you play with cards? Again, we're really being called to get out of this need to judge where someone is at because they're doing something. Oh, they're still using tarot cards. That's such an old, what's the word that I'm trying to say, paradigm. Okay, if that's what you believe. I still believe many things hold value. Does that mean I still need to use them? No. But does that mean that sometimes it's helpful? Why not? So I'm going to play. This is a game for me. So the cards I pulled were Raven, Gypsy, and Stone People. So I used a chakra card deck. And it's funny because this is exactly Sagittarius, right? This is the card that I pulled, Sagittarius, Gypsy. And one of the biggest messages that I've been getting is movement. Move, allow things to flow. I did Qigong today. It was powerful. I highly recommend doing Qigong, getting out of our same patterns, trying on something different. Gypsies have this free flowing energy, right? And obviously, are we moving into Sagittarius? Again, astrology isn't my cup of tea, but maybe we are. I have a feeling we are. Sagittarius. Yes, one of my good friends' birthdays is coming up. So also I see this as an arrow, right? And it's kind of off at a particular angle, right? It's at like 1 o'clock, 1, 1, 1, 1. I think that's ironic. I read my cards all a little differently, by the way. I don't read them traditionally like a lot of people do. I also recognize the color purple, which is the crown chakra, and the crown activating for quite a few people. I'll go into a little bit of flow, or a little deeper with this. I am going to do a flow video next. Okay, so this is the Chakra Zodiac Healing Oracle deck. And it talks about Sagittarius is born November 22nd through December 21st. So this is like a precursor of what we're heading into. Is a fire sign ruled by the planet Jupiter. And it talks a little bit about Sagittarius, which I love. So I'm just going to talk about some highlights of here. The crown chakra. So their love of learning and experimenting with philosophies of all kinds makes the keywords to this sign I seek. And the dominant chakra, the third eye, channeling the energy of the ruling planet Jupiter into the crown chakra, will open up channels of divine knowledge that the Sagittarius seeks. Neptune energy in the dominant chakra, crown, or third eye, will aid in clear thinking and intuitive ideas. Working with Saturn's energy in the foot or earth star chakras will help a Sagittarius with the restless nature and grounding into the here and now. So get out, explore new territory, and find new experiences. It's saying basically that we've been stuck in the same routine, and now it is time to try something new. Let go and move on. So the chant is, I seek and find love in all my experiences. I seek divine truths. Now this goes back to what I said. Is that the divine truth? And by the way, I hadn't read this until just now, and I don't have these memorized. So I always, synchronicity. So the synchronicity is, I seek divine truths. So the ultimate truth isn't always someone else's truth in that particular experience. There's a deeper knowingness that we're being called to look at. When someone, and we're tuning into some teachers, methods, practices, teaching modalities, maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe it's time to create our own and seek the truth, the divine truth. Find love in all of the experiences. Again, not judging ourselves, not judging the teacher, not judging the modality, recognizing that everything has something to share with us. That song, Gypsy, oh, that's Fleetwood Mac is in my head. Now, the other card that I pulled is Raven. I just want to share, for me, Crow and Raven are very similar. They're very mystical. They have a lot to do with magic. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. The other card I pulled was Stone People. And this is from the Jamie Sams, who I really love her deck. So it's Jamie Sam's Sacred Path cards is what it is. And these cards actually changed my life. In the beginning, I had been doing these cards to help figure out what I was seeing and experiencing, and asking my higher guidance team, my higher self, where do I go? What do I do next? Who do I need to speak with? Bring me synchronicities. And I'm going to give an example. Let's say I pulled the Stone People card. I would go someplace and somebody would give me a crystal out of the blue. Here, I think you should have this. And it just so happened that I pulled the Stone Person card. Now, what I'm seeing is a theme here, and I'm just going to share briefly. We're going to go back to Raven just for a moment. I am on otterdance.com, and I liked this particular website because it was just a really well-spoken. What pulled out for me was the darkness of the void. A lot of times when I go into a healing session or into meditation, I go into the void. I go into this space of just black, pure space. That can be uncomfortable sometimes. In the beginning, it felt odd, and now it's become very common to me. I don't go there all the time, but I go there quite frequently. And it's very womb-like. It's got this fluid, inky, incandescent blackness, but where all light comes out of this blackness. So Raven talks about it's a messenger. Now, hawks are also messengers, but again, it's saying to make dramatic changes in attitude and the way that we perceive things. It's encouraging us to put real magic into our life, expect the unexpected, and prepare for plenitude. So disperse negative attitude that has been holding us back and feel alive. It creates new realities. It's mysticism, the guardian of ceremonial magic and healing. It represented the power that carried the message or intention of the ceremony to its destination and brought about its manifestation, heralding changes. So changes are coming. Gypsy movement, things are shifting. It's a bringer of magic. It talks about letting go of our inner fears. It gives us the courage to enter the darkness of the void where creation comes from, which is the home of all that is not yet in form. I love that. That's beautiful. The void is called the great mystery. Now, the cards where the stone people, the Jamie Sands Sacred Life Path cards, also has the void card. So if you're interested in checking that out, it's a really great teaching tool, learning tool. The great mystery existed before all other things came into being. Great Spirit lives inside the void and emerged from the great mystery. Raven is the messenger of the void. Now, originally, when I chose these cards, the message I got was bring forward the cards that you would like to share. It's like I could pick a card and it would be exactly what I needed right in that moment because I'm bringing it forward from my own knowingness, from my own void. And here's the message, right? And there's so many different ways of looking at this. You have earned the right to see and experience a little more of life's magic. It talks about the black hole that creates creation. And you could go, again, check this out. I'm not going to go into too much. He references the Jamie Sam's Sacred Path cards in this particular website as well. The Stone People card is records and knowing revealed. They mark a time in which knowing will be revealed to you. Your personal records are held by these libraries of rock. Childhood memories may return and allow you to piece together a part of your personal puzzle. I'm just laughing because I was actually saying this earlier. I just picked these cards and I haven't read these cards in quite some time. So this is so synchronistic for me. It's validation sometimes playing with these cards. It's like, okay, thank you, universe, for validating what it is that I'm tuning into. Memories of past lives or deja vu could bring new awareness. Whatever the case, you are now in a position to know where you came from and where you are going. The Stone Person card assists you in focusing your intent, dispelling confusion, changing habits, retrieving records from long ago, or getting grounded. Allow these teachers to become your allies and discover a new world. So getting in touch with the earth. Now remember, the Gypsy card talked about grounding the energy from the crown through Sagittarius using Saturn, and I think of tree rings, into the feet, into the earth star chakra, which is below, right? As above, so below. The knowledge is based on earth records and may change the way in which you view life. So powerful. Now, the reason I wanted to share this, and I just want to kind of go backwards, is sometimes in order for us to recognize what is held within our records, that is held within our DNA, that is held within the Akash, we must get grounded. We must recognize that we are connected to a larger source of frequency and energy. Channel that through the heart, down all the way through our feet into the earth, and yet move at the same time. Be the gypsy, try new things. Find that movement and that dance so that we can move with the elements and allow ourselves to remember what we already know and trust in the magic and the messages that are coming in. I'm going to end on that note. This is exactly for me what I was experiencing in this portal. I was experiencing everything. And I have this deep upwelling of knowingness that I'm still integrating and processing. And I may be for the next month or so. And yet we can do this simultaneously as we move and process and integrate. We can share our experiences with one another. but we're being called to recognize there's magic in every person, place, or thing. And we may have to try something new in order to remember more about the magic in life. So I could go into so much more, but in love and light, guys, namaste. Thank you so much for tuning in.